This is from Vishal. Collaboration between human developers and AI tools like Pieces Copilot are crucial. Can you describe the ways in which Copilot encourages best practices, clean coding, and educates developers rather than just providing code snippets?
Yeah, I would just answer this real quick. Our Copilot is two things. One, it's about generating code, but at the end of the day, there's a ton of tools that can generate code for you, right? You're gonna have IDX, you're gonna have GitHub Copilot, you're gonna have all of that. I think to reinforce best practices, one of the important things is to have your documentation, to have your conversations, to have your collaborators all associated with the things you're saving. And so Mark mentioned earlier, but we have these ghost assets that are coming up. And I was talking to a VP of engineering at a really large company, Fortune 50, and he was saying that the number one problem is developers are spending 50% of their time simply trying to find things, save them, organize, do all that. And so between pieces, being able to save yourself, our ghost assets, which will be proactively saved from sites you're visiting, code you're referencing, copy and pasting, all that, you can then go to pieces and have your kind of personal search domain, your personal Copilot chat that's like well beyond, hey, generate this code, but it's like, who should I talk to? What link should I, visit? What was I doing yesterday? That are all like workflow driven versus like task driven. And I think like that is going to be really important because accessing that information, double checking something real quick, making sure you're aligned with policy, making sure you're getting good code reviews, et cetera, collaborating. I think that's really what Pieces is going to drive towards the generative side of what he's speaking on.
Yeah, and thanks, Sava. I've heard you say this a million times. If you want to elaborate more, but I'm going to steal this from you. But it creates that cycle.
Yeah.
So it creates that cycle. And do you want to do you talk a little bit about it so I don't butcher it?
No, you go for it. Yeah, rip it.
Yeah, no, it's so awesome because you can go ahead, you can generate, you can save it, you can get your links, you can click out to those links, you can learn more about it. Yeah. And then you can find additional snippets that you can save, and then you just keep going and going and going and getting a better snippet, learning more, educating yourself, and so on. So I think it really can hit home for that edge case there.
Nice. Well, I think we should, quickly answer a couple questions.
A couple more. We'll keep it.
Yeah. I saw a couple I can hit real quick on the local LLM, a couple of specifics.
Okay.
Yeah, first one was what runtimes or what libraries are backing this. So we have a couple. So for GPU acceleration, we're using from the machine learning compilation group. There are people heavily involved in like the TVM compiler and a new company called OctoML. They're an awesome open source solution. So we've tweaked out of it to be able to fit it into our app. And then on the CPU side, we're using the popular llama.cpp. That's great for CPU. Awesome acceleration on a non-dedicated GPU device. It's pretty great. And so that's to say that those aren't out of the box. We've done a good bit of custom work to kind of fit them into our system. But shout out to them. Yeah, they've laid some incredible groundwork on all that. And then in terms of the hardware requirements on both of those, so for just out of the box, if you're going to decide between GPU and CPU, you're going to have the option when we release this. If you have a dedicated GPU with, let's say, minimum 6 gigs of VRAM, of GPU RAM, you're fine to use the GPU model. If not, if you don't have a dedicated GPU, don't even try it. Go to the CPU version. And then on CPU, you're going to need, again, 6 gigs of just kind of vanilla RAM there. And obviously, the more cores that your machine has, the faster it's going to run. But we hope that providing these two options is going to cover the widest range of users.
I'll just say real quick, I have a MacBook Air, and this is an M2. It's Apple's integrated chip, and I think I've got like 24 gigs of RAM. It's like strange, but we did the staging local LLM testing the other day, and this thing was ripping. We'll have streaming, and we'll have kind of asynchronous requests. And on my computer, I had IntelliJ, VS Code, Pieces, Chrome. We were doing a Google Meet the whole time, and it was just cooking. So it's gonna be awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. Right now we have so technically we support, obviously, in terms of GPUs, we support the Mac GPUs. It ties directly into like the Mac, the Metal performance shaders, which is why it's so quick on that. And then we have any GPU that has the Vulkan SDK that should be standard across most Windows and Linux distributions right now. And then in the future, very soon, we're going to have AMD support, and as well as CUDA on your NVIDIA GPUs. So it's this is just the beginning. We just started this project pretty recently, and the support's going to get wider and wider, and we're going to be able to ship better models, target your hardware more specifically. It's about to explode from here.
I think, yeah, we said 6 weeks ago, hey, everything offline on device. We got teams in enterprise that are requiring these certain compliance levels. And we're like, all right. And then here we are 6 weeks later, next week's big release on the local stuff. And by the way, Brian, I was running CPU actually on my Mac Air. I wasn't even using the GPU one, and it was crushing. So
there you go.
I'm so excited for the CPU and the GPU version as well. I think on top of that, we're also going to be doing some streaming. So in your Copilot, we're getting those snapshots. Now you'll have that experience that's similar to ChatGPT, where you can go ahead and just stream each token while it comes in. You can stop generating, keep going, and so on to make that experience even better.
So Salva was touching on RAM storage, and we don't have our package guy Nathan on the call here today, but Mark, maybe you could touch on how we were able to reduce the size of updates for Pieces OS by 10x or so in the past update, and where that's going in the future, so that users with smaller RAM allocation are able to run Pieces.
Yeah, so those are two slightly different things, but I'll talk a little bit about the packaging, and then actually I'll pass the ball over to Brian to talk a little bit about some of the RAM usage and so on associated with some of our local models and how we're able to clean that up. But to talk a little bit about some of the packaging stuff, similar with what you see with a lot of other applications, you've got really only two ways to ship updates. One, you replace the whole thing. Or number two, you start to ship some of these Delta updates. So there's smaller bite-sized chunks, only the stuff that's changed. So massive, massive win here. Kudos to Nathan out there. But yeah, has all the Delta updates live within Pieces for Developers desktop app, as well as Pieces OS, the offline runtime that enables all of your different plugins to communicate with one another.
Yeah. So in terms of RAM, we've heard you users who are unhappy with the amount of resting RAM pieces.
Sorry, we're getting there. Yeah.
We apologize. We're working on it. We hear you. So there's a couple of reasons there. A lot of that is the local machine learning models. That's why we really want to target the offline privacy-based users. That's been our goal the entire time as a company. And that requires having these big models on your computer. You're not pinging out to an endpoint. That doesn't mean we can't be smarter about how we manage those models on your computer. And so very soon, I think Mark alluded to this earlier, as with our local LLMs, that's going to push this. We're going to intelligently load them out of or unload them from memory when you're not using them. And we're going to start out with a pretty basic approach, but I think our eventual goal is to really learn your development cycle and when you typically would use these models and kind of preemptively load them up and down. And so we're going to save your machine. We're going to save your battery. It won't sound like a rocket ship's taking off.
Yeah. I'll just add to that super quick and we'll answer this question. But Brian, I know that we have a couple of Black Ops mission projects right now to predictively turn on your Cloud Run instance, right, for each individual user. And obviously, predicting when you're about to share, when you're about to save something from the cloud, use a cloud feature. That's how we keep cloud costs very low and scalability very high. But the same thing could go for our local models, right? The same way that we apply that to cloud interactions, we could apply it to models booting up and
absolutely
down. Yep, it would be awesome. So excited for that micro model to come in.
Absolutely, yeah. Be on the lookout for Pieces OS dropping from around, let's say 2 gigs, 1.5 gigs of resting RAM to somewhere around 1 to 200.
Yeah, and I'll say this as well to add to that. If you have the Intel version of pieces on Apple Silica, right, then you're actually paying double the cost because you're effectively running this in a Rosetta VM, right? And then your performance is going to be bad. So that's the other thing is make sure you get the right download. And then Kevin, yeah, sorry it took a sec to get your question, but I would imagine, and Brian, you could probably talk a little bit more towards this, but what I saw on my MacBook Air here. I could imagine, 16, maybe 32 gigs of RAM, is probably fine. And then, like a decently powered quad core, 2.7 gigahertz and higher should be decent enough.
Yeah, that's fair. And then I mentioned earlier about if you're using the GPU version, dedicated GPU with at least 6 gigs of RAM. That's for NVIDIA GPUs. That's likely like the 60 series and up. Should be totally fine.
Yeah, and by the way, this is only for the large language models. The rest of the features in pieces will run on like a whole variety of operating system and devices today. So that's like your auto-generated tags, titles, all that stuff. And if you don't want to use your local CPU, just select Kodi, Palm 2, GPT, whatever you want, and it'll be good. Yep. Whatever you're comfortable with. But yeah.
And I talked about this earlier as well with the these are the minimum, and we're only going to ship probably the smallest model acceptable performance at first. Eventually, we're going to have options to ship bigger LLMs to you. If you have a really nice machine, you're going to get a nicer model. So be on the lookout for that.
Yeah, and we're doing all types of quantization and fine tuning and things like that to even again get like 1 billion parameters, 7 billion parameters, like really A+ for a couple of the tasks that you're really going to be doing. So yeah, models getting better, devices getting better. Fun fact, if you installed this thing and like didn't update it, for however long, like you have a device in 2025, this thing's probably going to be running faster than it is right now, which is hilarious. So very future proofed.